Hey everybody, so far we've been kind of doing some review stuff. This should also be kind of a review, but this is moving more into our algebraic units. And this topic is going to be on percentages. So this is definitely a real life application type topic. So this is super important stuff. And the base of this topic, the base of percentages, is this first line here. Blank is blank percent of blank, which doesn't sound like a whole lot because there's a lot of blanks in there. But this is essentially what your questions are going to come down to. It's going to be what is what percent of what. And what you're going to do is two out of three are going to be filled. And then you're going to have to solve for the third one. So you're going to have to do a little bit of translating. So whatever comes here, there's going to be a number there, or you're not going to know what's there. So let's just leave it as A. A is. What does is translate to? That should be equals what percent. Now remember, when we have a percent, I'm going to call it P. But remember, when it gives you the actual percentage, you have to convert that to a decimal. So you got to move it 2 decimal places to the left. So I'm even going to show that here. I'm going to do a little loop over there to show that we have to move it 2 spots to the left. Of, when you see of in math, you should think multiply. So A equals P times, and then you'll either get a number there or a what. So we'll call it B. All right. So this is the general form that they're going to take. And we're going to do some just like these two here where it's just pure translation. And then we're going to look at some that are in the context of some real life situations where you're going to be asking yourselves a question kind of like this and then translating that question. But first, let's just translate some that are pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So what is 5% of 32? So I'm going to translate that as what, when we don't know something, we're going to call it a letter. So I used A up here. We'll go ahead and use that again. So what is equal to 5%. Remember, this is where we have to move the decimal 2 spots to the left. So 5% as a decimal is actually 0.05, and then times 32. So this one's pretty easy. We've got an equation there. We've got one variable that we need to solve for. So all we have to do is 0.05 times 32. So then in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and do 0.05 times 32, and that gives me 1.6. So because it's A equals this, I'm going to do another equal sign over here, 1.6. All right, so not too bad on that one. This next one will take a little bit more work. So we've already got a number in this spot. So 13 equals 10%. Remember, we got to go 1, 2, so 0.1 of what number? So we don't know that part. So times, we use B at the top, so let's go ahead and use B again. You could use whatever letter that you like, but I'm going to use B. Now we've got an equation that we got to solve for. And really, it's just one simple step. We just have to divide by 0.1 on both sides. And that'll give us our answer. So we got to do 13 divided by 0.1. And that should give you 130. So 13 is 10% of 130. All right, so this next example is what we're going to be looking at in real life situations as far as percentages go. So this one says, what is the tax rate if you were charged an extra $1.44 in tax on a $24 item? So we were charged that extra $1.44, and we want to know, what is that tax percentage? So we're looking for the tax percentage, so we should already be thinking of we're going to have a variable in that equation for the percentage part. So I'm going to have something is, and we don't know what the percentage is, so I'm going to say P of, and then put a blank there. And then I'm looking at, okay, where do my two numbers go? Because I've got $1.44 and I've got 24. And what we're looking for is okay, $1.44 is the number in question. And the total amount was 24. So how we're actually going to ask this question is $1.44 is what percent? So I'll say what percent of, and this is where that 24 comes. So $1.44 is what percent of 24, and then we can go ahead and translate. $1.44 is P, so is turns into an equal sign of 24. So just like in that last problem, all we have to do is make our T-chart and divide. And we're going to divide both sides by 24. So P is equal to, I'm going to do 1.44 divided by 24, and I get 0.06. But what does that number actually represent? That represents a percentage. So remember, when we have a percentage, we have to move it 1, 2 back to the right to convert it back to a percentage. So in this case, it becomes a 6% tax rate would be our final answer, is 6% tax rate. Okay, our next one here says, out of 225 students surveyed, 8% said they walked to school. How many students walk to school? So this one is a little bit different because they actually give you the percentage. So we already know the percentage in there. So we already know that is 8%. And then one of these two is going to be a variable and one of them is going to be a number. So it says out of those 225 students, and we want to know, okay, 8% said that they walk. We want to know what that actual number is. So we want to know what is 8% of 225 to give us that number of students that walk. So then we're going to go ahead and translate this. X equals, and then when we have 8%, we got to move it 2 to the left, 0.08 of 225. And this one becomes really easy because all you have to do is multiply these two together. 0.08 times 225, and that should give you 18. And then remember, anytime that you have to do a word problem, we're going to label it. So it's going to be 18 students walk to school, because we want to be precise what it's asking. It's not asking how many students, it's saying how many students walk to school. All right, so we're going to do a little bit more with percentages in the next couple days here, but make sure that you know this is the general question that you should be asking on percentage problems.